It's time to take a look at stories making the headlines in Nigerian newspapers. And joining me in the studio is public affairs commentator Aladende Ario. Also here is Dikbo Oyewole, strategy consultant and public affairs analyst. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. All right, let's head straight to the papers. And I begin with The Punch. Cop driver killed as protests spread, ground Lagos, others. Police beat female protester, others. Hoodlums attack police station. Sanwo-Olu meets Buhari today. Inspector General of Police promises new cops for new squad. PDP others demand police overhaul. President pledges deep reforms. All right, and to the front page of the Daily Trust, still looking at the protests. Despite SARS ban, protests continue. 2 killed, 3 policemen injured in Lagos. Great luck in Abuja, Edo, Ilorin. Training of new unit operatives begins next week. Inspector General of Police is speaking there. Expect extensive police reforms, Buhari. All right, and to the front page of the Nation newspaper, still looking at the EndSARS protest. The protesters ground Lagos, Abuja, other cities. Policeman killed in Lagos. Buhari promises extensive reform. Why protest may continue. And to the front page of the Blueprint. Despite disbandment, nationwide hashtag EndSARS protests go awry. Youth attack police over protesters, death in Lagos. Besiege Osun Kwara government houses. Others ban first step towards police reforms. Buhari, Sanwo-Olu to meet president over Lagos violence. And on the front page of the News Direct, EndSARS Buhari vows to sanction erring officers, pledges reforms as protests turn bloody. Sanwo-Olu to meet Buhari. All right, Nigerian cities, that's the story on the front page of the Daily Times. Now, Nigerian cities in throes of violent hashtag EndSARS protest. That's the last story on the front page of the Daily Times. Gentlemen, the EndSARS hashtag EndSARS protests has taken the front page of all the newspapers this morning. And we saw what happened yesterday. Yeah. Lagos was virtually grounded.
Shut down. Yes.
I mean, a lot of persons did not get home in time, spent hours, in traffic, some 6, some 7. And it goes to show that a lot of Nigerians are still insisting that they want an end to this, in spite of the president's saying that there is going to be deep reforms. Do you have concerns? I'll start with you, Olade Ndario. Do you have concerns with how the protests are going or the way this issue is being handled?
Thank you very much. Beyond the protests, let's begin to look at how did this begin?
Yeah.
Whereby the police that was established primarily for our safety and security now became the albatross, easily sending our youths to early grave and maiming our youths. In 1981, Dele Ndubuisi Udo, a Nigerian athlete who was doing very well in America, 3 weeks after he got married, he came to Nigeria to prepare for an international competition. Right there, he left the camp at National Stadium, went to Ojuelegba. They encountered policemen. One thing led to another. In less than a second, he was gunned down. President Shehu Shagari then promised the nation that he would leave no stone unturned to unravel what happened. The IGP then, Sunday Adewusi, came promising heaven and hell. Nothing happened to the policeman that killed Dele Udo, and that was a dream destroyed. The child that the wife later gave birth to never saw her father. Dele Udo is just one of the several Nigerians who have been so wasted. This was 1981. This is 2020, and we're still talking about the same thing. So the question is it about SARS?
So the issue here is the fact that one of the issues is the fact that justice has not been served or seen to be done for most of the cases. Human rights violations.
99% of cases of police brutality, human rights abuse, non-judicial deaths and all of that. People, they did those things and they got away with it. My problem is this. Within the police force, there are perfect gentlemen and women. But the preponderance of the bad ones has overwhelmed the structure. And that is why, if I have my way, my assessment of the police as it is that of a building that lacks integrity, is socially defective. I don't know how much reform can give us the police that we desire. Let me also say this. We should be looking at why are our policemen over the years turning out to be what they are. Why can't we have, we have sane bankers, we have sane OAPs and all of that. Why do we have
there
that?
Are also
is it because they carry arms?
As well. They are still
what is
also
it? See, what is it that's making them to turn out the way they are turning out?
You would agree with me, Alade in the area, that there are still some sane policemen.
I said it, that it's a pain for me,
right,
that I have experienced the best of men and women within the police. Yet, the preponderance that we see is such that if you are being chased by an armed robber, you are safer with armed robber than to go to the police. Really? That is the mentality that we all carry around.
Let's get to Dikbo's perspective to this hashtag EndSARS protest. From what Alade and Daria is saying, this is not the first time. It has been on for decades, since he mentioned 1981 when someone was killed. If we are looking at deep reforms, do you think that we will be able to address the root causes and not just treat symptoms, looking at how far this has been on for now?
So yes, in the larger conversation, we'll talk about reforms, but I think in the immediate, calling for the end of the unit called SARS is quite expedient. This is why I say that. Reform will not take overnight. Reform will take time. But this is what the Nigerian youth are saying. We would like to be alive to even see those reforms happen. Because, he talked about 1981. I'll talk about Sunday. 2 days ago, Jimoh Isiaq. Yeah. Did he have to die? Today, his parents are mourning. He was even an onlooker. He was an onlooker.
He wasn't part of the protest.
There was somebody gunned down at Surulere yesterday. There were people that were dragged on the streets. Nigerian youth. It is unacceptable. It is unacceptable. Treasurer Unduka was dragged on the street from one side of the road to the other. In the midst of policemen, she was beaten right there in the glare of everyone, in broad daylight. This is what the Nigerian police has become. So what we're saying is, let us be alive at first. Take the SARS operatives off the streets, end the entire unit. Then we can have a conversation
Is this really about SARS alone? So, because those that were on the streets, they weren't SARS operatives, were they?
So it is not quite clear if they were SARS operatives, but this is what I'm saying. EndSARS movement isn't just about the SARS unit itself. It's about ending police brutality. The SARS unit is part and parcel of the Nigerian police force. So the question is, if we are saying we are ending police brutality by saying that this particular unit that has been a plague to the Nigerian youth, end them first, and then we'll talk about the larger reform.
So if we are talking about
a menace
in the immediate,
yes.
What beyond ending or dissolution, which the President and the Inspector General of Police has talked about?
Theoretically.
So what would you want to see that it goes beyond theoretically?
There have been people that have been killed since Sunday. We have not heard about a single arrest of any policeman. There is no sense of accountability, and that is why this process have continued. People have been dying on our streets almost on a daily basis at the hands of police officers. And then we have the IGP come out to say that, okay, this unit has been dissolved. But somehow, less than an hour after he made that pronouncement, a young man was gunned down. An unarmed young man. A life snuffed out. Parents losing their son. Someone losing their brother. Someone losing their friend. It is unacceptable. There has to be justice. It cannot just be lip service any longer. It is because there has been insincerity on purpose from the side of the government and from the side of the police. That's why the process to continue.
So how do we address, bringing the question to you now, Olade and Dario, if we are to address this issue of the trust deficit, which he has talked about in terms of insincerity of purpose, where should the government, how should the government go about addressing it? At least now that we can see everywhere was grounded, money's lost,
between
lives lost.
Yesterday and your entrance
We need
yesterday,
to
I
address
spent
this
6
quickly
hours.
as possible. Quickly.
I am not going to talk about insincerity for purpose, but insincerity and failure of leadership. I told you, President Shagari and the IGP, the Sunday Adeusi, they promised heaven and hell. That policeman went away, nothing happened to him. And that has been the situation here. We run an environment of no consequence. You commit murder, you kill people, you steal money or do whatever. Once you are well connected, you go away and then you go and live a new life. I remember in 1983 election, the same IG Sunday Adeusi unleashed mayhem on Nigerian populace with mobile policemen. They were called kill and go. They wreaked so much damage, killed people mercilessly, nothing happened to them. Let me tell you, we have to move away from the era of what I call pro forma invoice promises. Something will happen, president will come, everyone will come and be promising, we will not leave any stone unturned. We will investigate, and nothing ever get. In any community where people can commit murder or any misdemeanor and get away without it, you don't expect sanity. It doesn't work that way. So, apart from that, the way policemen are recruited, the kind of training they get, the environment where they are trained, how much they are paid, their welfare, the barracks where they live in, all of these are enough reasons to make the average policeman insane. So we are getting what we are paying for. And that's why I said we need beyond the promised reforms. We have had reforms so many times. Nothing has come out of it.
All right.
Unfortunately, SARS, anti-cultism, anti-Yahoo, anti-whatever, they are symptomatic of the problems bedeviling the police from the top to the bottom.
Right. Quickly, your final take on this matter.
My final take on the matter is this. Enough is enough. There has to be accountability. There has to be a sense of responsibility on the side of the government. Now, the president made, I would say it was a passing comment, okay, reading a speech, and then he mentioned it in 90 seconds, saying that there was going to be reform and all of that. Since 2015.
That is why you're not taking it seriously? Which other ways could he have presented his case?
Okay, so this is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Someone was killed. People have been killed. This issue has been bedeviling us. You've been making promises since 2015. You are going to rebrand. You are going to dissolve EndSARS, SARS, and all of that. Nothing has happened. Let's have a presidential order saying that this unit has been banned. These reforms would happen. We're not seeing any of that. Only promises. Promises. How long are we going to live on promises?
Absolutely.
Our Nigerian youth will not live on promises. We will not survive on promises. Policemen do not just promise to kill us. They've been killing us. We need actions. Actions need to match actions, not just promises, not just words.
Well, let's look at the newspapers this morning, starting off with The Nation. EndSARS protesters ground Lagos, Abuja, other cities. That's The Nation newspaper this morning. Now, Business Day, still talking about EndSARS, but a different slant is saying here, EndSARS businesses bleed as protests rocks Nigeria, threatens business existence, prospective investors, that's according to NECA. The solution first step to reform, says Buhari. Sanwo-Olu to brief Buhari today. CSO petitions UK, US, EU to slam visa ban on Oyo CP family members. Leadership newspaper says WTO will keep pushing till you win. President Muhammadu Buhari assures Okonjo-Iweala. The Guardian, still talking about the protest, says protesters march on. The riders here say youth take campaign from EndSARS to governance reforms. Lockdown Lagos, stampede activities at airports to toll gate. Police inspector passerby killed in Surulere. Protesters decline Sanwo-Olu's plea to back down after visit. Governor to discuss protests with Buhari today. Protests rock Abuja. City on lockdown as police block major routes. Protesters march on. That's the Guardian newspaper this morning. We move to the New Telegraph. EndSARS protests turn violent. Inspector, 2 others killed. So, major newspapers here talking about the EndSARS protest, so we'll stick with it at this point. And the New Telegraph is talking about the protest turning violent. EndSARS, the Nation is saying EndSARS protesters ground Lagos, Abuja, other cities. Policeman killed in Lagos. Buhari promises extensive reform. Why protest may continue. Gentlemen, looking at all of this now, the protest has continued unabated since last week. The youth have come out now to air their grievances. At this point, what do you think about this activism that has taking over the whole place such that the youths are now out to do something about it?
Thank you very much. It was the president before a global audience who described Nigerian youth as lazy. Perhaps now it will have changed his impression.
So you think it's something that has been, a mindset that have been there?
If you interact with youths, they didn't like that statement. And they were looking for opportunity to express themselves, to show that they were not lazy. Let me tell you, governments over the years have deprived and denied them spaces for expression to prosper after going through university and all those educations. Yahoo is part of their creativity, wrong, illegal, unlawful as it is. So also are so many of the tech-based things that they are doing. When they voted massively for BBN, some adults condemned them. Now they have come to show that they also have political consciousness. Henceforth, voting in Nigeria will not be the same again.
Why do you think
the grounds have been laid. They have come out en masse. We have over 120 million youths. They form the largest spectrum of our demography, whether you like it or not.
Okay.
Now, they are saying we are ready to put our lives on the line so that the police will stop killing us. But beyond that, they are also demanding for good governance.
Well, while they are demanding for the good governance,
Yes.
I'll come to Dikpo now. A lot of people now are saying that these protests have now been hijacked, saying that it has been turning violent.
Well, that for me has been an unfortunate possibility. Understanding the fact that there are certain detractors that will want to come into their midst to see that they sabotage the entire process. From the beginning, the protests have always been peaceful.
Yeah.
The protesters have come with a single intention, to get the attention of the people in government and say that we don't want to be killed any longer.
But have you not gotten that attention?
They've gotten the attention, but we haven't seen the action. Because you saying that you just dissolve a particular unit and then less than an hour later a young man is gunned down isn't a way to tell me that you've heard me and you've heard me clearly. All that tells me is, okay, you've heard me, but you've told me what you think I wanted to hear, but you're not interested in acting on it.
So they're looking for action at this point.
We're looking for action
because... Will the action bring the results that's needed at this time so quick? It takes time.
So this, for me, is the person that killed Jimoh Isiaq, the policeman that killed him, hasn't been apprehended. We haven't heard anything about him. We haven't heard of his identity. Maybe they're trying to protect him, so to protect his family as well. We haven't heard anything about that. Someone was gunned down in Surulere yesterday. We haven't heard anything about that as well. This has been the culture, and this is why people are on the streets. We're saying we don't want to be killed any longer, and even the cases that have been in the news from the notable ones that we know about, the Johnson Collar days and the other ones, there hasn't been any form of justice. There hasn't been a sense of accountability. This is what we're calling for. Let there be a sense of accountability. Okay. Let there be justice. Let people who commit these crimes, let them be brought to book. But so far, the impunity has continued.
Okay.
Can I tell you my reading of all of these things?
Go ahead.
Those who make peaceful change impossible, they make violent change inevitable. I can't remember who wrote that. We've been calling for restructuring. Why some sections kept saying to them it meant cutting Nigeria into pieces. Whereas it is not so. There are still fundamental problems facing us that we are saying let us address them. They are not listening. Revolutions are never planned. Nobody started this, so nobody can end it. Take that. Number two, this is not a case of NLC, NANS, Unilag, Student Union or Choyinka Falano.
Is the students
that they will now call them. We are talking of faceless Nigerian youths who have been so maligned, wasted, saying enough of this. So government needs to think outside of the box now and come up with sincere and deliberate actions that will calm them down beyond the usual rhetorics of saying we will. No, action has to be seen to be taken. And let me also tell you this: it is so serious that I have been expecting the president to speak to us, to speak to the nation, assure the youths, appeal to them.
He did that yesterday.
And promise. I'm talking of a broadcast, not a 90 seconds sidekick. No, It should be a deliberate nationwide broadcast.
Okay, so now that we have this protest all around the nation, how can the youths galvanize this power they have now, they have realized they have now, for something better?
See, Dikbo here is in that category. I would have allowed him to answer that question, but I want to help him. I told you before.
He will answer the question.
He will, yes, but I want to lay the ground for him so they can tidy it up. Before, we saw them as not there, lazy. Today, they are saying, even politically, we have consciousness and awareness. And they have shown us, take it from me, elections in Nigeria will never be the same again. Okay. They will determine who rules Nigeria, not the parties.
Well, for me, the awakening is there. And yes, like you rightly said earlier, that aside from asking for accountability in terms of people not being killed by the police force, by the members of the SARS unit, there is an awakening. Now, a lot of people understand and realize that we have leverage, okay? We have leverage, we are the people. We have a huge number. We can dictate who governs us and how we are governed. Now we are demanding for police brutality to be ended and for better governance. For today, we're talking about police brutality being ended, and I'm sure the conversation will extend after this to other issues, to other social issues, other civic issues that concern us. But this much I would say, that yes, to every Nigerian youth out there, the fire has been lit. Let us not go back to sleep. Let us not put it out, because it is important that we keep pressing. We must keep pressing. We must keep pressing to ensure that we get to the place of promise, because so far what we're seeing hasn't been impressive so far, but we need to keep pressing.
All right, now we'll end it there at this point. But first of all, our correspondent, Abimbola Agbebi, is on standby, still on the coverage of the protests in some cities of Nigeria over cases of misconduct by the police, particularly the operatives of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. TVC News correspondent Abimbola Agbebi brings us a situation report. Abimbola, now tell us what's happening now. Yes, you are at the Muri Okunla Park where the protest is supposed to hold today. Give us a glimpse of what's happening there.
Okay, earlier we were at the Muri Okunla, of course, the planned venue of the protest, but to chartering, there was no sign of protesters at that particular location. And then we had to move down to Lekki-Epe Expressway. As you know, that by this time yesterday, what we had yesterday, if you could recall, yesterday we had protesters blocking the Lekki-Epe Expressway, barring commuters and motorists from using the Lekki toll gate, in continuation of their protest. Now, as you can see behind me, further down behind me is the Lekki toll gate. And unlike what played out yesterday, as you can see, the atmosphere looks quite peaceful. This morning, there's a free flow of traffic. Vehicles are moving freely. There is no sign of protesters here this morning, unlike what we had yesterday, Theophilus.
So at both locations, you're saying there are no protesters, both at the Lekki-Epe Expressway and Muri Okunla Park?
Yes, Theophilus. At both locations, there are no signs of protesters. Vehicles are moving on freely. People are going about their normal businesses, Theophilus.
All right, thank you very much, Abimbola, for talking to us on this. We'll get more updates from you in the course of our news bulletins. So there you have it now. No protesters on ground. So at this point, we'll have to...
Very early.
It's still very early, but we have to...
On my way to this place, there was already a mass of youths at Otedola Estate. Marching
I saw a couple of them at Alausa, but we'll see how this pans out today.
Yes, during the course of the day,
we'll see how it pans out.
A lot will still get to unfold itself.
Yesterday,
we have to end it at this
I spent 6 hours between Alakpere Estate and your entrance here.
It was a standstill, no movement.
Pleasant, but you know what? I'm happy to have gone through it. Because my generation failed to checkmate those who are before us.
Oh, now you agree.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for talking to us on this.
Thank
you very much, gentlemen, for talking to us.